This is a story that my mom told me from her childhood. I've put it in my own words, but I have not changed any of the details or the events. Memories are odd. Every time you reflect on one, you skew it just a bit. And after years and years, your memories become a disfigured version of what actually happened. It's kind of like that grade school game, a telephone, where you whisper something to the person next to you, and then they whisper what they thought you said to the person next to them, and so on. And by the time it gets back to you, the phrase being passed around is nothing like the original phrase. I often wonder how different my childhood was compared to how I remember it. How many details have changed. How many things I recall that may have not happened at all. I fully accept that not everything was as what I thought it was. I'm fine with that. One memory, though, haunts me in vivid and precise brushstrokes. It's funny how the ones you'd rather forget seem to be the ones that refuse to relinquish their clarity. The memory that I'm referring to takes place October of 1986, just outside of Dallas. I still remember the dress that I was wearing. It was yellow with white polka dots, long sleeves, and went all the way down past my ankles as per my parents' religious requirements. I hated that dress, but at 11, my parents didn't yet think I was capable of choosing appropriate attire for myself. I hated it because it was rather hard to move in. My mother had made it herself and it was pretty tight from the mid-thigh down. Anyways, my sister was a bit older than me and had just gotten her driver's license and she wanted to take the car out. Our mom said that she could, as long as she would take me with her. She agreed and grabbed the keys and off we went. We left around 6 o'clock and it was already getting dark. But my sister, who was still a little bit uncomfortable behind the wheel, wanted to drive in the evening so she would have less traffic to deal with. We all stuck to the side streets and back roads until we worked our way to a stretch of relatively desolate highway. We had been driving around listening to the radio, embracing our first true taste of freedom for about an hour. We were just circling back and forth along the same 10 or so miles of US Highway 80, between Mesquite and Forney, just outside of Dallas. It's a little bit busier there now, but back then, it was just a 10-mile stretch of trees and railroad tracks. It was there that we heard the engine ka-clunk ka-clunk and my sister's novice driving skills became apparent, as the car sputtered a few hundred yards before dying and rolling to a stop. We had run out of gas, and the closest gas station was a few miles back. This was before we had cell phones, so the only thing that we could do was grab the gas can from the truck and walk back to the station. You remember that poorly constructed polka dot dress? Wow, this is where that comes into play. After about 100 yards, it was obvious that it would be more troubling than it was worth for me to hobble behind my sister for several miles, so she handed me the keys and told me to just wait in the car. I got back in the car and locked all of the doors and watched the rear window until my sister was out of view. I was a very meek, timid, and easily frightened little girl, and it didn't take long for the dark to infiltrate my psyche. There were no streetlights, and I hadn't seen another car since my sister had left. The only light was from the moon, which was full enough that I could see the thick tree line about 30 yards off the road. After what seemed like an eternity alone in the dark, my fear and nerves suddenly began to fray. It was completely silent, not even the crickets were chirping. I became acutely aware of just how unnerving the silence was. I wanted it to end, but at the same time, I was afraid of what might end it. So I sat petrified, almost anticipating to hear the boogeyman's whispers in the wind at any moment. All I could think to do was to try and fall asleep, and hopefully by the time I woke up, my sister would be back. I leaned the seat back and I closed my eyes and tried my best to block the boogeyman from my mind. Another 15 minutes or so passed while I was trying to turn and find a halfway comfortable position. I was in the midst of fidgeting that an eerie feeling ran down my spine. A feeling that I was not alone. A feeling of unshakable dread that I was being watched. I was laying on my side facing the steering wheel, looking downward at the floorboard, my back to the passenger window, my eyes pressed shut tightly. I was afraid to open them, afraid of what I couldn't see, of what I might. I took a deep breath and counted to 3, and I opened my eyes. there was nothing there. I took another breath and I quickly shifted my gaze to the driver's side window. I exhaled, seeing nothing there either. You're okay, I told myself. I sat there wide-eyed, staring straight ahead, focusing on the steering wheel for another 10 or so minutes. And that's when all at once and all of a sudden, I felt stricken with a paralyzing sense of terror, and the voice in my head just started repeating, "Don't turn around. Whatever you do, don't turn around." My heart began racing faster in my chest, and my body stiffened and my limbs felt so heavy, as an inner panic had started to take hold. I tried telling myself that it was all in my head, that there was nothing outside of my window, that I was just working myself up. But to my utter horror, however, a shadow shifted off the driver's side seat and then filled back up again, followed by 3 taps on the glass behind me. That shadow had been covering that seat since I had opened my eyes because I hardly blinked since opening them. That means whoever or whatever was outside of the car had just been standing there, watching me. As this terrifying thought ran through my head, there were 3 more taps, louder this time. I knew that I could just not ignore them anymore. I mustered up all my courage I could and I turned to meet the tapper. "Hello?" I nervously whispered, as my eyes tried to focus on the figure outside of the window. "Aren't you a little young to be in there all alone, little lady? Where are your parents?" His voice was deep and had an authoritative tinge to it. As he spoke, chills went down my spine. Suddenly the air felt cold and night felt sinister. The man was abnormally tall, at the top of the window well below his chest line. His hands were extremely vascular and his fingers long and needly. As my eyes tried to focus, he bent his enormous slender frame over enough to peer into the window. He was clean shaven, revealing extremely sunken cheeks and eye sockets. His eyes themselves were bulging outward and seemed too large for his face. And while it could have just been the night, I swear that they were completely black. "Little girl," he repeated. "I asked you, where are your parents?" I'm with my sister, He cut me off and pulled out a flashlight, shining it into the car. "I can't understand you. I'm gonna have to ask you to roll down the window." "It's alright, I'm a cop." The ambient light from the flashlight allowed me to see he was in fact in an officer's uniform, and a brief moment of relief hit me. Rolling down the window, I spoke a little louder. "I'm with my sister. We broke down and she went to get gas. I couldn't go with her because I can't walk in this dress." A slight grin came across his face. "Ah, I see. So you're out here all alone then?" he said almost gleefully. "Yes, sir. Just until my sister gets back." "And when will she be back?" "The closest station is a few miles away. That could take a while." His tone came across as a predator toying with its prey. My relief was starting to dissipate as the familiar feeling of looming dread returned. "I don't know. She's been gone a couple of hours now, I guess." He said. "I'll tell you what. Why don't you come with me? We can go get your sister and you won't have to walk. How does that sound?" It hadn't dawned on me until then. I hadn't seen any headlights in either direction for 20 minutes by this time. I turned and I looked out the rear window, and I started to tremble, as I confirmed that there is in fact no car in any direction within eyesight. "But where's your cop car?" I almost hesitantly asked. "Right over there, just through the trees." He pointed to the tree line in the distance. "Haven't you ever wanted to ride in a cop car?" "I think I should just wait here for my sister to get back. She shouldn't be too much longer." "Look, it's past curfew. If I don't get you home soon, I'll have to arrest you. Your parents wouldn't like that if you got arrested, now will they?" Now a new fear entered my 11-year-old brain, the fear that I could be arrested. But my instinct said not to get out of the car. "I'm sorry, sir," I said, rolling up the window. "I really should just wait for my sister." As the window was about an inch from closing, He stuck his fingers through trying to stop and ended up smashing them between the door and the glass. He shrieked in pain and pulled his hand back. "You little bitch, you smashed my fingers." "I'm sorry." I said through the now closed window, backing up in my seat as far from the door as I could. He started pulling on the door handle violently and shaking the car back and forth. "Open the door. Do you know how long you will go to jail for resisting arrest?" He pulled out something that looked like a nightstick and started banging on the roof of the car and the window. "Open this door or I'll smash it in. If you don't open it right now, this is going to be so much worse for you. I swear to God." He smacked the window again and a spiderweb of cracks erupted from where the club struck. Now I knew that it was only a matter of time before he got in, and was afraid that he'd follow through on his promise of making it worse. Okay, I said through frantic sobs, not even realizing I had started crying. "Well, alright then," he said suddenly completely calm. "Go ahead and step out of the vehicle and follow me to my car." "Yes, sir." I rolled up the window and I stepped out of the car. "This way," he said. Tremors ran through my body as I slowly began to follow the man. I knew something wasn't right, and all I could think was that he was leading me into something unspeakable behind those trees. I wanted to run, but with my dress, I wouldn't make it far before he caught me. And where would I even go if I could? We were about halfway to the tree line, 40 feet away, when headlights lit up the field that we were standing in. "Come on," he snarled, grabbing my arm and pulling me along at a hastened pace. We were 10, maybe 15 feet from the trees when the shout started. The headlights were now beaming directly on us, like spotlights from heaven, when several voices, all female, started yelling in our direction. "Get away from that man, little girl. That man is not a police officer. He's a bad man. Let her go, you demon. God is watching you. Little girl, come here to us. Get away from the bad man." They sent a barrage of shouts, until the man let me go and ran into the trees. "Run to us, little girl, as fast as you can before the bad man comes back." So I ran as hard as I could, ripping my dress in the process. Two women in thigh-length dresses stood outside the open side doors of an old white church van. Get in, they urged. I jumped inside into the arms of another woman, and I heard the door slam behind me. There were 6 ladies altogether inside of the van, all older, larger women. "You're safe now, little girl. We won't let that bad man hurt you," one of them assured me. My sister, I have to wait for my sister," I said through tears. "We will wait here with you, sweetheart, and keep the bad man away," another assured me. Every so often they would start yelling for me not to look out the window, and pull me into their chest to shield my eyes. But curiosity got the best of me and I peered out against my better judgment, prying my eyes sideways away from the woman who was holding me. What I saw still haunts my nightmares. It was the man, now completely naked, running down on all fours in and out of the trees and through the field between us. He seemed to be moving at inhuman speeds, his long limbs articulating in an almost unnatural way. Sometimes he'd come as close as a few feet from the van and make the most disturbingly guttural grunts and growls. The ladies would try to distract me by singing nursery rhymes and gospel hymns, and any time that he got too close they would roll down the windows and shout him back. He would disappear and reappear like clockwork until finally my sister appeared, gas can in hand and on the road behind us. I told my sister what had happened and she said the worst feeling had come over her and she'd been running the whole way back. The ladies surrounded us, forming a big circle around the car as my sister filled it with gas. The man was now standing 10 feet outside of the tree line, his clothes back on, watching us the whole time. He looked and never spoke, as I chanted at him not to get any closer. When the car finally started, the ladies said they'd follow us to make sure we'd make it home. We went up half a mile and made the U-turn to head back, and as we crossed the place that we had been stranded, the man was on all fours, completely nude again, sniffing at the pavement where we had been stranded. The old church van was behind us almost the whole way home, and I never took my eyes off of it. I was afraid that somehow the bad man would get us if they weren't there. But as we turned down our street and I lost sight of them, and they didn't turn behind us, nor did I see a single vehicle pass in the cross street. Maybe they just turned around. I had thought at the time. My mother was waiting on the front porch for us as we pulled up. It was obvious that she had been crying. She said that she had gotten an awful feeling that something bad had happened to me. I told her everything that had happened, and she called the police, who came to the house to take a statement. I thought that that was the last time I'd ever have to hear about the bad man again. But unfortunately, a couple of months later, I saw a news story. It was about a girl that had gone missing from a park close to the area where our car had broken down. Witnesses said that the last time they saw her, she was walking to a tall, lanky man in an officer's uniform. Sometimes I think back to the night and I shiver when I think of the bad man. Other times, though, I think of the ladies in the van, how they showed up just in time, how they vanquished without a trace. I wonder then and I wonder now if they were angels.